You can buy the perfect storage facility at the perfect price with the perfect business plan and still lose. Why? Because you chose the wrong market. In self-storage, the market does 70% of the heavy lifting. A great operator in a bad market is going to struggle. A mediocre operator in a great market wins. I've seen it time and time again because you cannot fix the market. And in this video, I want to show you how to evaluate markets the right way so that you can stack the odds in your favor before you even submit an offer. So with that being said, let's now build your market map. Hey, my friend, welcome back. If you have already completed your buy box blueprint, awesome, I salute you. If you haven't, however, I'd actually encourage you to hit the pause on this particular video and go do that first, because that is super, super important. It's critical because it gives you the what. Now, in this video, we're actually diving into the where. The theme is actually going to be how to evaluate markets for demand. We're going to evaluate the competition. We're going to see what kind of growth, and then there's going to be a specific action item that's going to be important for you to act on so that we can build on before we move on to module 3 and actually start getting into some of the juicy stuff, which is the deal flow machine, the deal filter system. So again, if you've already built your buy box, fantastic, because now we're going to turn that clarity into a real map. And this is where your buy box blueprint meets the real world and where the right market can make or break your deal. Let's start with this idea because it's so important that you understand this and that you hear me loud and clear. You can be the best storage operator in the world. Literally, you could be the best person in the country when it comes to managing, owning, and operating storage. But if you are in a bad market, if you are in a market that is oversupplied with storage and there's just not enough demand, or it just doesn't have strong demographics that we're going to talk about in this video, trust me, you are going to struggle. Now, on the flip side, to buffer my argument, and hopefully this resonates with you, you can be a mediocre storage owner operator. In fact, you can be completely brand new, still learning, but if you're in a great market with strong demand, limited competition, you can win, and you can win big. Okay, you are going to thrive. That's how important this market map is. And we're going to evaluate markets for demand. We're going to look at the competition. We're going to check out the growth in the area so that you can start to stack the deck in your favor. Now, look, for some of you, starting local, I think makes perfect sense, especially if you live in a tertiary or a secondary market like we talked about in the previous video. And we'll touch on that here as well. If you're in a primary market like I am in Miami, or if you're in just a big metropolitan city, it's going to be tough. I necessarily recommend that you spend too much time and energy looking for storage in a big primary market, a big metropolitan city with, millions of people. Prices are very high. It's run, owned, and dominated by a lot of the REITs like Public Storage, Extra Space, CubeSmart, and the opportunities are going to be more scarce. But if you live in a smaller city or town, or even you're within an hour or two drive distance from one, then I would actually suggest and recommend that you start there. The other thing you might want to consider is if you travel frequently to a particular city or region, maybe you have friends and family in another state that you visit often, or maybe you vacation in a certain part of town or a certain state at a certain aspect of the year, and you'd love to own some storage there, then that can also be a great fit. Look, this is your business, so build it around your vision. All right, you can design a business that works around your goals and your vision, not the other way around. And I see too many aspiring storage investors and even seasoned entrepreneurs do it the wrong way. They hustle and they build a business without really taking into account their vision, their goals, what they want their life to look like. Because remember, this is a business that, yes, we provide a valuable service for our customers, clean facility, safe facility for them to store their belongings and their valuables. But this business needs to work for you. Otherwise, what are we actually doing? Now, if you are coming into this with the intention of wholesaling because you're looking to generate some cash, you don't necessarily need to love the market. You just need to know how to find a really, really good deal, put it under contract, and pass it along to a buyer at the right price or terms. And there's going to be a section in the amplifier training where we're going to be talking about wholesaling storage. Please, please, please. I almost didn't mention that because I don't want you to stop this and skip ahead. I want you to follow the process here. Trust the process, as they would say. So let's go ahead and quickly break down the 4 main market types and the different tiers in self-storage. We touched on this in the previous module, but I think it's important that you just have an understanding. Primary markets are your big metros, Miami, Los Angeles, areas like that, right? Lots of competition, high land and construction cost. It's dominated by REITs, like I mentioned. Secondary markets are more of the mid-sized cities, and that can be, let's say, 250,000 to 1 million people. There's some REIT presence. You can find some solid mom and pop opportunities there. My personal favorite, tertiary markets, think 10,000 to 75,000 people roughly, give or take in that area. These are smaller, often overlooked cities where you have most of the facilities are still owned and operated by mom and pop owners. They're undermanaged. They're not really treating it like a business many cases. And that to me is where the opportunity lives and exists. And then finally, you have rural markets. I would say rural markets typically under 5,000 people. They can work if you buy them right and if you manage them really lean, underwrite them or evaluate them, I should say, conservatively. But you got to be really selective because the demand can be thinner because you just don't have as many people there. So it might come with a little bit more risk. I do have some coaching clients that have bought facilities in rural markets and they're doing really, really well with them, but they understand how to buy them right and how to operate them lean. That's really important, and that's something we'll talk about in upcoming modules. Let me pause for a quick second. If you are serious about buying your very first storage facility, don't piece this together video by video. Inside the Cash Flow Maps membership, you're going to get the entire acquisition system unlocked right now, plus the underwriting tools, the templates, the scripts, and the deal filters that we actually use. And you can't get these here on YouTube. You can actually create a free account to access and unlock the entire acquisition system along with all the valuable resources. Click the link in the description, get the full system, and then let's come back to this and keep building. Back to the video. Now, look, once you've identified your market type, I want you to focus on 4 key metrics, and do not skip these because these are important. You want to look at the population trends. Ask yourself, and you want to do the actual research, is this market and city growing? Is it stable or is it shrinking, right? It's declining. So you want to see, are people coming in? Are jobs coming in? Are companies, manufacturers coming in? If you see growth, if you see new housing starts, right? Developers in there, you see a lot of construction, that can be a very, very good sign. In fact, I would say it is a good sign. Now, when it comes to construction, we'll talk about this in the supply and demand section. Definitely want to be aware if there's any new construction when it comes to self-storage, because that can absolutely impact your ability to bring in new tenants, raise the occupancy, generate more revenue, and ultimately make more money, right? Net operating income, that's what this is about. So population trend, right? Ask yourself and do the research, and I'll share with you a document, a market map resources document that's going to give you all the different links that you can actually go for free to check on the population trend, to evaluate, is this city or market growing? Is it just pretty stable or flat, or is it declining in some cases? You also want to evaluate number 2, the median household income. I like to aim for a baseline of $50,000 or greater. Really, ideally, I'm looking to be $60,000 or greater. The higher the median household income is, I believe, the better, because you want the households in the area to have disposable income. My first facility I bought in a market that was really, really rough. I didn't follow what I'm teaching you here in terms of the demographics. And fortunately for me, I did very well because I bought it right. You know, you make your money when you buy, you just realize it when you sell. However, it came with a lot more management headaches. It was more management intensive, and that didn't fit my vision, which is why I ultimately ended up selling a portfolio in a particular part of Mississippi. But you definitely want to look at the median household income in that area, okay, in that 3 or 5 mile radius, which is super important. And then I look at the renter ratio, because the more renters in the area, in all likelihood, the more demand there's going to be for storage in that area. So you want to look at the home ownership versus the renters in that market. And then last but certainly not least, okay, supply versus demand. This is where we calculate what we call in the industry the square feet per capita, or it's also referred to in some circles as the supply index. It measures the available net rentable square footage of storage relative to the population in that same radius. 3 or 5 mile radius is what we typically look at. I'll give you some rules of thumb, things that you can look at, but when it comes to the supply index or the square foot per capita, let's actually just take a couple of minutes to dive in a little bit deeper there, because understanding supply and demand is really important. If you want the actual formula, you're taking the total net rentable square footage of all the storage facilities in that 3 mile radius or in the 5 mile radius. If you happen to be in a rural market and you want to expand that out to 7, even 10 miles, you can do that. But if we're looking at facilities in a tertiary or secondary market, then we want to be looking at a 1, a 3, and a 5 mile radius. And what we're doing is let's just take a 5 mile radius for the sake of this example. We're going to take the total net rentable square footage of all the storage facilities in that 5 mile radius, and we're going to divide that by the total population in that same area. What many consider to be the national average or the standard in the industry is you want that number to be below 7. So let's say, for example, you have 100,000 net rentable square footage of storage in a 5 mile radius, and you have 10,000 people in that market. Well, if you take 100,000 divided by 10,000, that's going to give you a square foot per capita of 10. That is a little bit on the higher side. So what we look for is markets that have a square foot per capita below 7. That, generally speaking, that means it's an undersupplied market. That means you're going to have more demand for storage than you have supply. Why? Because you just don't have enough net rentable square footage of storage relative to the population. If the number is, let's say, between 8 and 10, it's probably competitive, or it could be competitive, but certainly don't panic. If the number is 10 and up, right, then we just got to dig deeper. It doesn't mean it's a deal breaker. Look, I have bought storage facilities, and I have plenty of clients that have bought storage facilities where the number was higher than 7. In some cases higher than 10. My very first facility, I think the square foot per capita was almost 13. And it still performed because of, in some cases, it could be location, visibility, lack of REIT presence, like no public storage, no extra space. So this is one piece of the puzzle. It's an important piece, but it doesn't necessarily make or break a deal. We got to look at the full picture here. And this is, again, an important piece, but it's not the only thing we look at. So don't make the mistake of doing these calculations and saying, oh, it's a square foot per capita of 9, so there's no deals here. That's not what I'm saying. Think of this as a metric. Think of it as a compass. It's guiding you, but it's not necessarily a rule book. Now, here's what I would like to do is I want to jump into Google Maps for a quick demo. And let me see if I can get my tech to work with me here, because there's a few things that I want to share with you here. And I think it's going to be really, really important that you understand, at least initially in your journey here, how do you go out and manually figure out what the approximate net rentable square footage of a facility is. I want to go ahead and preface this part of the training by saying this is great for a virtual assistant, right? And we're going to have a module dedicated on how you can leverage virtual assistants to help you in your storage business. So I don't want you spending a lot of time going out there measuring storage facilities. Hear me loud and clear. But I do want you to understand that if you just want to get an idea of the total net rentable square footage of a facility or the competitors in the area, this is how you do it. So if you go to Google Maps, you can just Google Maps or go to maps.google.com. I brought up, in fact, let me just go ahead and do this so I can show you from ground zero here. So you can type in any city and state. Okay, so like I happen to own a storage facility in Fernandina Beach, Florida. So I type in Fernandina Beach, Florida. I'm going to click on nearby and I'm going to type in self-storage. You could also do self-storage near me. It doesn't really matter. But all these red dots, this is what's called the Google Map Pack. Okay, these are all the storage facilities that Google was picking up. And I like to be in satellite view. And what you do is you just zoom in here and you're going to find a storage facility like this one right here. Okay, so I'm going to go in here and you see how this storage facility has 3 long rectangular buildings. So let me see if I can rotate this here a little bit. Okay, I think I like this view a little bit better here. So I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. Now, what you're going to do is on the corner, I like to right click and then you're going to click on measure distance. Now, for me, it's right click. For you, maybe it's something different. But essentially, you want to click on that measure distance tool in the corner. And then all you're gonna do is you're gonna click, 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 and you're gonna see how it gives you the approximate square footage. So I'm gonna click here in the corner. I'm gonna click here in this corner. I'm gonna click again a fourth time, and then I'm gonna click to round it out exactly where I started, right here. And then you can see here, it says here total area, 16,828. This is an approximation. It's gonna be somewhere super, super close to that, provided that you're clicking in the corners. 16,828. So what you would do is you would write that down, or you would put it into a Google spreadsheet, and then you're gonna do the same exact thing for this building and the same exact thing for this building. You're gonna add up all three, and that's gonna give you the total approximate net rentable square footage of the area. And this is what you could do for every facility in that market. So I just wanted to take a few minutes to show you how to do it. I don't think it's gonna be a good use of your time to be doing this, but I do want you to understand that there's a free tool that allows you to do it. For me, I use a tool called Tract IQ. Okay, and let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. So I use a tool called Tract IQ because it simplifies it. It basically just gives me what I need with typing in an address and a couple clicks of a button. And I much prefer doing that. Now, hear me loud and clear. That is a paid tool. I do have an affiliate relationship with them. If you go to storagewins.com/tractiq, you can check it out. If you end up getting that service, I make a couple of bucks at no cost to you, but you certainly do not need that. Hear me loud and clear. The first, I think 3.5 years that I was in storage, I didn't really pay for any tools. I was just leveraging the free tools I had, and I bought, managed, and wholesaled several facilities during that time. At this stage for me, it just simplifies the process and it gives me a lot of the valuable data that I need. So just want to go ahead and share that. Now, a couple of things that I want you to know when it comes to the supply and demand, all right? And by the way, like I mentioned, we're going to have a market map resource guide that is going to give you all of the websites and the links and all of the resources that I'm about to share with you. But inside there, you're going to find free tools like census.gov, where you can research a lot of this demographic information, city-data.com. Obviously, I just mentioned Google Maps. I would even recommend that you check AI tools like ChatGPT, or if you're using Claude or Gemini, anything like that can be really helpful when you're researching a market. Now, again, I don't want you to spend so much time trying to find and research the perfect market. In fact, I have coaching clients that when they come into our community, we provide them with a list of mom and pop storage facilities, and we do it by state, which is insanely valuable because it took us so much time, energy, and attention to build it, a lot of money as well. And so we encourage them to start leveraging our deal machine process, to just start contacting them and start having meaningful conversations and start evaluating deals and making offers, all things that I'm going to teach you and you're going to learn here in the Cash Flow Maps course. I've been more of a ready, fire, aim, right? So I start making calls, and I figure it out along the way. And then when I get something on the hook, when I get a fish on the hook, then I'll start diving into that market. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that's what you should do. In fact, at the end of this, you're going to see that I'll go ahead and foreshadow. I'm going to encourage you that I'm going to want you to pick 3 to 5 markets to initially start your search. Okay, because as you start analyzing markets, I want you to filter them through your vision and ask yourself, would I actually want to own or visit even a facility here? Does this area match my buy box blueprint? Now, keep in mind, don't discount a market just because you don't necessarily want to go there, because I only visit facilities when I'm under contract to perform due diligence, and when I close on the facility I spend 2 to 4 days there setting things up and making sure that the facility is set up in a place to thrive and succeed. And then we manage and own and operate it remotely. I'm here in Miami and the facilities are miles and hundreds of miles away. So we run the unmanned model. I don't necessarily have to have an employee there, and that's likely how you're going to run these facilities. So if you live in a good secondary or tertiary market, that could be your best launch pad. If not, pick areas that make sense strategically, that have strong growth, affordable land, healthy medium household income, where it's got manageable competition. It doesn't have a lot of REITs. There's job growth, and you see the population increasing. And a lot of the tools that you're going to find in the market map resources document you're going to be able to essentially do all the research within those tools. Here's your homework, and this is where clarity can become extremely powerful. I want you to choose 3 to 5 markets that fit your buy box blueprint. Number 2, download the market map resources guide and use the tools we just covered. There might be a few of you that even want to jump to check out Tracked IQ. For most, you can leverage just the free tools and resources in the market map resources guide. And then I also want to encourage you that you already should have your buy box blueprint. And then once you establish your 3 to 5 markets, go into the Storage Wins Facebook group and share that with people. Say, hey, here's my buy box blueprint, and here are the markets I'm looking at. But I wanna just share something that I think is very important. I've just taught you now the importance of doing market research and something we call the market map. And this truly is a map. And that, along with the buy box blueprint, and you're on solid footing. You got a solid foundation. But understand that when you look at a market, it's kind of like an octopus. It's got all these tentacles, and you could start here, but you could end up over there. And sometimes in researching a facility, you're going to find another facility and another market. Be okay. Like, be fluid. Be like water, as Bruce Lee would say. Don't be so dead set, like I'm only going to look at this little area. Expand, be open, and understand that sometimes you're going to be looking at a facility that maybe is in a market that you maybe don't want to own and operate. But if you can get it at the right price or terms, that can be a great wholesale opportunity for somebody. So go into the Storage Wins Facebook group, share your buy box blueprint, share the markets that you're open in, or even maybe for you, it's, hey, I'm interested, like my family and I, we love to go to Georgia and North Carolina, South Carolina, Tennessee. So we'd like to own storage in some of those markets. And I might just say, hey, I'm looking at the southeast part of the country. And that's okay. But I do want you to have a dialed in buy box blueprint. I do want you to pick 3 to 5 markets to initially plant your flag based on competition, based on supply and demand, and a lot of the demographic data that we just talked about. So when you share that in the Storage Wins Facebook group, I want you to tag me, Alex Pardo, and then use the hashtags, hashtag Storage Wins, hashtag cash flow maps, and hashtag market map. All right, so that we can filter through and we can find you, we can connect with you, we can collaborate, and we're cheering you on here. So that is going to be your micro win for this particular video, and this is going to round out module 2. And you're going to start to build confidence, and now you're going to exactly know where to look, right, when we start building your deal flow machine, which is what we're going to be talking about next in module 3. So hey, once again, I'm pumped for you. I'm excited that you have invested in yourself. You know, there's times where we're going to be met with resistance, or we're going to be met with adversity or challenges. Go back to your why. Remember what you documented in module 1 in the embrace the opportunity section. Like, why are you doing this? Go back to that if things get challenging. The only way this doesn't work for you is if you quit, if you stop, or you're just inconsistent. So again, I honor you for investing in yourself and for wanting to go through this. We've now covered the first 2 modules, and we're going to be transitioning into module 3, where we're going to talk about how do you find these deals? How do you build your deal flow machine? So I'm excited for you. I'm pumped, and I look forward to catching up with you on the next one. You now know what to buy and where to buy it. And that puts you ahead of most investors out there looking for storage deals. Now, choose 3 to 5 markets, complete your market map, and share it. And the way you can complete your market map, which is what I just referenced in the video, is to head over to create a free account and click the link on the description below so that you access the entire Cashflow Maps acquisition system, not only including market map, I should say, but all of the training, resources, tools, templates, spreadsheets, everything I use inside of my storage business and inside of the Storage Wins community. I also want to encourage you to head over to the Cashflow Maps playlist. Make sure you're subscribed. Continue on to the next video if it's available. And if it's not, again, make sure you're subscribed so that you stay plugged in, because clarity plus execution is what equals momentum. So with that being said, I look forward to catching you on the next video.